Come, friends, stroll with us down the corridors of the last 90 years, and you will catch glimpses of certain salient features of our monastery's history. Benedictines the world over have always chosen sites rich in natural beauty for erecting their monasteries. Trinidad, situated as it is in the emerald waters of the Caribbean, presented the monks with admirable settings for their foundation. The site for the new monastery was chosen in 1912 on the estate of Mr. Gomer in the hills behind St. Joseph. A mud hut was the only habitation on the property, and this served as chapel and dormitory. By 1913, the community had increased to 11, and new accommodation was obtained in the erecting of a fairly large workshop, which was used as a dormitory at night. The three lay brothers pictured here are Brother Gabriel Mockveld, Brother Joseph Kleiman, and Brother Rafael Gomer. A new road from St. John's Village to the monastery was begun in 1913. The work was undertaken by the monks and hired labor and was completed the same year. Monks such as these two here working on the road were a characteristic sight in the early days. On the left is Brother Anthony Feldner, the first lay brother of the original pioneer group, which consisted of 2 priests and himself. After many years of devoted service to his monastic family, he went to his eternal reward on August the 8th, 1934. The same year, 1913, saw the erection of a temporary chapel to accommodate the pilgrims who were increasing daily. The chapel was completed in August, but owing to the golden jubilee of St. Mary's College, could not be blessed until December the 28th. Here we see the interior of the chapel, which had seating accommodation for 180 persons. The chapel, which the outstanding generosity of the people helped to complete, was the heart of the monastic community, where the monks spent a great part of the day in the carrying out of the liturgical office. This ajupa was especially built for Dom Mayol de Caini, the founder of the monastery. There he received guests and pilgrims, taught philosophy and theology to the student monks, and recreated with the professed members of the community. The building pictured here was constructed in 1914 and contained separate cells for the monks. It was demolished in 1978. In May 1914, the Apostolic Delegate of the Brazilian congregation, the Right Reverend Lawrence Zeller, visited the monastery and suggested the erection of a guest house for the pilgrims who were coming daily in greater numbers. The monastery's first Ford car can be seen parked outside the guest house. While the contractors were busy erecting the guest and rest houses, the brothers were erecting a large refectory and a chapter hall running parallel with the church, as you see it here completed. In the process of constructing, Brother Joseph fell from the roof and fractured his leg.
Horses and carriages were the only means of transport, and it was found necessary to build a stable in 1915. Above the stable, a cocoa drying roof was placed. The apiary, which now lies some distance from the monastery, was then within the enclosure and comprised an open shed with some 30 beehives. Dom Placid Gantoum of happy memory, who is pictured here, was apiarist together with Brother Rafael. The large dark object at the bottom is a cocoa sweating box. Here is a view of the monastery of Mount St. Benedict as it looked in 1917 after its completion. At the right is the guest house, at the left the rest house, and in the center is the large mission cross with the church in the background. By 1917, operations were transferred from Mount St. Benedict to Mount Tabor, some 1,000 feet higher, where this castle-like structure was erected by Brother Joseph Kleinman under the directions of Dom Mayerl. In November 1923, Dom Hugh van der Sander was appointed conventual prior by the Holy See on the resignation of Dom Mayerl. Dom Hugh held the post of conventual prior for 24 years. One of the first acts of Dom Prior was to affiliate the priory to the Belgian congregation. This is the first photograph of Dom Prior and his community, which had increased by this time to 25. Dom Placid Gantoum, the first local vocation for the monastery, is pictured here with scouts of Troop 9th Port of Spain, who visited the monastery about the time of his ordination in 1926. The first scout den built at Mount St. Benedict can be seen in the background. Dom Morris Mengo, also of happy memory, who joined the Benedictine community together with Dom Placid, is pictured here with the first Mount St. Benedict Scout Troop, which was founded by Dom Gualbert van der Plas in 1927. Our library, which contains about 20,000 books, was slowly built up through the generous contributions of many donors who bequeathed their libraries to us. Dom Morris Mengo is seen here deep in study in one of the books. In 1932, The old trappings, which had adorned the sanctuary for 18 years, were removed, and the new furnishings pictured here replaced the old. The high altar and choir stalls were built by Brother Joseph Kleinman.
1930. The last photograph of the monks in the black habit before they changed to the white on account of the tropical heat. This photograph was taken on the occasion of the ordination of Fathers Bede and Andrew. The present guest house, which is famous for its peace and quiet, but even more so for its afternoon teas and bird watching, was built in 1932. The architect was no other than the renowned Brother Gabriel. 1947. During this year, the college was blessed by His Grace the Archbishop Count Finbar Ryan, O.P. To the left of His Grace is Dom Chrysostom Lee Singh, and to the right, Dom Adalbert Van Duyn, who was elected first abbot in June of the same year. The Right Reverend Dom Adalbert Van Duyn, elected first abbot of Mount St. Benedict, seen celebrating Holy Mass in his private chapel. He was abbot for 25 years until he resigned in 1972. An interior view of the monastery showing the corridor of the first completed section of the permanent monastic building with the rooms of the monks on each side. The monastic church, as seen decorated for our independence celebrations in 1962. The altar is so arranged as to permit the celebration of Holy Mass facing the congregation. The monks spend about 3 hours each day in chapel. A group photograph of the community taken at the close of their annual retreat, which was preached by Reverend Father Gardner, O.P. in 1962, 50 years after the monastery was founded. The facade of the monastic church, with the recently completed parlors with the holy shop and the tower to the left. The old bell tower was broken down in 1962, and the bells were installed in the present bell tower on the south side of the monastery in front of the church. The bulldozer pushing the tower and the hill on which it stood down the hill on the north side of the monastery. The Abbey School's refectory, auditorium, and the library. In the kitchen is installed the latest and most efficient equipment. Scouts of the 2nd Mount St. Benedict Troop on parade in 1961. The troop was founded by Dom Ildefonse in 1946. He was Scoutmaster for 14 years until he resigned his post in 1960 and was succeeded by Dom Cuthbert. The Scouts are all boarders of the Abbey School. Sports Day at the Abbey School in 1967. A very important day in the life of the Abbey School boy. The sports field was dug out of the hill in 1946. The march past of the different houses in the school: St. Francis, St. Anthony, and St. Lawrence, with the Abbey Scout Band. Abbot Adelbert van Duyn and Dom Cuthbert van der Sand inspecting the teams at the march past. The fastest man on wheels in the Western Hemisphere, Roger Gibbons, gracing the Abbey's Sports Day in 1967, and the boys brave enough to challenge him. I do not need to say who won the race. The Abbey boys gave a good account of themselves, but the faster man on that day won. In 1957, the Abbey School, being a boarding school, it was thought necessary and useful to have a swimming pool built for the students. In 1964, 7 students, all boarders of the Abbey School, formed a swimming club, and they called it Aqua Lads. Brother Rupert Alexis was asked to be manager of the club. In 1970, girls were allowed to join the club, and the name was changed to Aqua Lads and Lasses. This year marks the 38th year since the club was formed. The seminary was built in 1962 to educate the secular clergy. The building can accommodate 45 students. This year marks the 40th year since it was built.
One of the sporting highlights in the year for the seminarians and the younger monks was the annual cricket match, Seminary versus Monastery. Such a match in progress in 1962. The match was played every Carnival Tuesday. In 1967, St. Bede Technical and Vocational School was started for boys who were not academically inclined. In 1968, girl students were included. Brother Joseph Perez, seen here instructing young men in woodwork. Brother Joseph did that for many years before he became principal of St. Bede School. Brother Joseph was principal of St. Bede for 25 years until he retired in July 1992. In this picture, Brother Joseph is instructing the boys of St. Bede in human relations. Brother Joseph did a course in human relations in the USA. Agriculture has long been the tradition of most Benedictine monasteries. Here we see one of the abbey's monks, Dom John Evangelist, examining a young cocoa plant. The estate, which lies in the backwoods of the monastery, comprises 300 acres. Dom Peter Canisius van Stralen, one of the best known and most loved monks of Mount St. Benedict, seen here in 1970, with some of the children of St. John's Village, where he was parish priest for many years. Dom Peter died peacefully on March the 26th, 1984. Brother Bruno's Crammer, endeared to the hearts of many far and wide, and renowned throughout the island for Mount St. Benedict's poultry farm, which he was in charge of since 1935, when he took it over from Brother Rafael. He resigned from the poultry in 1976 and went to help the pilgrims in the parlors, which he continued to do faithfully until his death on January the 22nd, 1992. Brother Rafael Gomer, one of the pioneer monks who came to Trinidad in 1913 from the monastery in Bahia, is seen here helping one of the young workers with treading a pipe. Brother Rafael was in charge of maintenance for many, many years. After 65 years of living the monastic life in faithful service to his beloved monastic family, he went to his eternal reward on March the 19th, 1974. A picture of Mount St. Benedict in 1964, before the tower was completed, not very much different from how it is today. Easter night candlelight procession at Mount St. Benedict in 1963. A tremendous crowd always came for that special celebration on the holiest of nights, Easter. Another picture of the Easter night procession. Corpus Christi procession at the Mount on Sunday, June the 16th, 1960. The procession at the Mount was always held on the Sunday following the feast of Corpus Christi, not to clash with the procession in Port of Spain. Palm Sunday procession at Mount St. Benedict. As Benedictines, the liturgy has always been the most important part of their lives. Dom Bernard Vla, who was to become the second abbot of Mount St. Benedict, seen here celebrating Holy Mass on the basketball court of the Abbey School on the occasion of his silver jubilee of ordination to the priesthood on the 19th of March, 1967. In 1975, Dom Bernard Vla was appointed second abbot of Mount St. Benedict. Here, Dom Bernard is being prayed over by his Benedictine community. Abbot Bernard became very involved in the charismatic renewal. The old and the new. Dom Adelbert van Dyne, first abbot of Mount St. Benedict, is seen here congratulating Dom Bernard after he was elected. Dom Bernard was abbot for 4 years before he resigned because of ill health on November the 26th, 1979. The third abbot of Mount St. Benedict, Dom Hildebrand Green, was elected on December the 3rd, 1979. Abbot Hildebrand worked very hard in developing the retreat apostolate at Mount St. Benedict. He was also instrumental in establishing the monastic foundation in Guyana. The first group photograph of Abbot Hildebrand and his community, taken shortly after he was made abbot in 1980. Dom Hildebrand was abbot for 16 years. One of the younger members of the community of Mount St. Benedict, Brother John Pereira, who joined the monastery on September the 13th, 1985, was ordained a priest on June the 27th, 1993. Father John, as he is now known, is the present prior of the monastery. Our fourth abbot, Dom Francis Alain, the first local monk to be elected abbot of Mount St. Benedict. Father Francis was elected on October the 24th, 1995. This year marks the 7th year Father Francis is abbot.
The making of yogurt at Mount St. Benedict was started in 1985. Yogurt is becoming very popular in Trinidad, and Mount St. Benedict's yogurt is the most popular of all. At the moment, there are over 20 flavors to choose from. Father Abbot Francis was the pioneer of our yogurt making. Father Cuthbert, on the right of your picture, took over from him. On Father Cuthbert's right is Maxim de Commermond, an old student of the Abbey School who has been helping Father Cuthbert with the yogurt for many years. One of the new members of our community, Brother Tony Badri, standing on the extreme left of the picture. Brother Tony is in charge of maintenance at the Abbey. He joined the monastery on the 16th of May, 1998. This beautiful picture of the front of our holy shop and tower was taken very recently. This new holy shop at the Abbey was built in the year 2000. This is part of Father Abbot Francis' vision to improve our service to the many pilgrims who visit the Abbey daily. An interior view of the holy shop, showing some of the lovely religious articles that are on sale. Sunday, July the 14th, 2002. A big day in the life of the monastery of Mount St. Benedict. The beginning of our celebrating our 90th year with the launching of our musical CD, God of Music. St. Augustine from the Mount on the night of the fireworks display at our independence celebration in 1962. Such a sea of light would hardly have been imagined by the monks 50 years earlier. The monastery today, with your help and God's blessing, tomorrow.
La 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 la. Be with us, together to praise and love you, singing in the circle of the music of your love, singing in the circle of your name.
Jesus Christ, rhythm of all our dancing, you let down from the Father's side, loving us, fruit of our flesh was eating, leaping from the cradle to the cross with all our shame, leaping to the Father in our name.
Breath of God, energy, life and spirit, breathe in us, come and dance and play. Make us to love, delighting, holding every person in the bosom of your love, holding everyone in your embrace.
Holding every person in the bosom of your love, holding everyone in your embrace. Holding every person in the bosom of your love, holding everyone in your embrace.